Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Appreciate you jumping on. Do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button. It certainly helps the channel. We are going to hear today from several attorneys about what they think is going to happen with all these crypto cases that the SEC has taken on. Because since Donald Trump has been elected, we know Gary Gensler's clock is ticking. It's only a matter of time until he's gone. So what is going to happen with all these cases that they brought? We're going to hear from a couple experts today, but before we jump into the news, let's take a look at pricing. Bitcoin holding strong, up 0.27% over the last 24 hours, sitting at 76,474.67. It's a beautiful thing. Ethereum up 2.98% over the last 24 hours, getting close to that $3,000 mark, sitting at 2,938.38. Solana up 4%, sitting at 200.89. And XRP up 0.45%, sitting at 55 cents. Let's take a look at some news today, starting with Crypto Erie. And she says SBI earnings, SBI, the biggest bank in Japan, highlights from at Yoshitaka Kitao. He says crypto asset businesses will definitely grow with Trump. They'll repay the 100 billion yen of public funds early, confident of taking over the largest securities company, Nomura, and plans to build semiconductor factory. Multiple sources in the last hour copy and paste this to Google search, she says. This is from a recent meeting that SBI had. So good stuff there. SBI, as some of you may know, is a partner of Ripple and is the biggest bank in Japan. So they've been partnered for some time. Coming to us from Stuart Alderati, Chief Legal Officer at Ripple. He says he retweets here from John Reed Stark, who says, FYI, stick a fork in the SEC. It's done. Stewart says, on top of that, John, a staunch SEC supporter, has the class to say, the people have spoken. Gensler and his anti-crypto minions should voluntarily stand down, or as John explains, the SEC's new chair, when appointed, will use the agency's internal mechanisms to remove them. Either way, it's over. So, Stuart Alderati certainly has a positive outlook for some of these cases, including their own at Ripple, as it relates to the SEC commissioner changing. And that is Gary Gensler. And Mr. Mann brings us a reminder here, Gary Gensler under investigation. This went to the Honorable Gary Gensler, if you want to call him honorable. I'm not sure you can do that. On September 10th, 2024. In which it says, the committee's oversight is essential to assess whether the SEC is appropriately complying with federal law in its hiring of civil servants and to determine the extent to which individuals' political affiliation have affected the SEC's personnel decisions. Therefore, to assist our oversight, we ask that you produce the following documents and information since April 17th, 2021. All documents and communication referring or relating to the SEC's decision to hire, employ, terminate, or transfer any director or associate director of an SEC division or office, or a staff member in the chair's office. And number two, they're asking for all documents and communication referring to or relating to the SEC's consideration or evaluation of the political affiliation or political ideology of an applicant for employment with the SEC, including but not limited to Dr. Zhu. So that's just part of it there, but just a reminder, Jim Jordan and Patrick McHenry that are leading this have asked for that information. So Gary Gensler is certainly on the hot seat, to say the least. Now, coming in from Fred Rispoli in regards to the Ripple case and the SEC, and how he thinks it may be handled. He says, XRP community, my thoughts on how at real Donald Trump win changes the @Ripple appeal timeline. It's good news from a pure crypto perspective. Thank heavens he won. We know Trump is aware of the case from the X post by Stuart Alderati. If you guys didn't see that, Stuart Alderati and Ripple had a meeting this past summer of 2024, with Donald Trump in San Francisco. They admitted that that took place. So, to go through the rest of this tweet here by Fred Rispoli, he says, we know Trump is aware of the case from the X post by Stuart Alderati. We know there are about to be extreme changes at the SEC, but probably not in effect until March or April of 2025. While I think it's unrealistic to expect the case to be flat out dismissed, this goes for any already filed cases, we can finally talk about settlement being a very realistic possibility. And there are two scenarios I'm thinking about, says Fred. One, current SEC regime realizes that where the Ripple case stands right now, institutional sales illegal, $125 million fine, is the best it's going to get and still hurt crypto industry. So get it in before the new leadership hammer drops. That's one scenario. The other scenario, Fred says too, new SEC regime in spring 25 recognizes this whole case was idiotic and settles at that point for less than the SEC has now. This might include a reduction in the fine and an agreement that current sales of XRP by Ripple are sufficiently structured to be investment contracts. Bottom line, I no longer think we'll be waiting until 2026 for this shit show to be over. Go XRP. So that's the take of Fred Rispoli, and it's being mimicked by several other people. So that is good news. Next up, coming in from Black Swan Capitalist, he says XRP operates with no political bias, meaning it can be used by anyone, anywhere beyond central bank control. The issue, while the world's eyes are fixed on Bitcoin, central banks have quietly partnered with Ripple to build the infrastructure that will enable them to use XRP. This is an old clip from years ago that with central bankers that Brad Garlinghouse was a part of, and this just gives you a brief listen to what Brad said at this meeting.
But now we have someone from the private sector, Brad Garlinghouse, who is the CEO of the financial technology company Ripple.
I will start off by also thanking Charles, thanking Thomas, thanking Christine. It's an honor to be included. And as was introduced, I think they saved me for last so that I could talk about the private sector version of this. I also start by kind of explaining the basics of what Ripple is and what Ripple is not. Ripple is a private company. We're based in California, about 300 or 400 employees around the world. And we're trying to solve a problem. We're selling technologies to banks and financial institutions to solve a cross-border payments problem.
But now we have someone from the private sector.
So, shout out to Black Swan Capitalist for reminding us of this video. I mean, again, you're in a room with central bankers. This was years ago, and Ripple was the only crypto player at the table. So, that speaks volumes. Coming in from Emily here, she says, breaking, Ripple CEO @Brad Garlinghouse says about the Ripple versus SEC case, finally we see light at the end of the tunnel. The tides are shifting. The case will soon be over, and there is nothing that can stop XRP anymore. And here is his tweet. I've shared some thoughts on what the Trump administration could mean for crypto, and wanted to also recognize the XRP family's patience and unwavering support. A lot has happened since XRP was the second most valuable digital asset. I think that was back in 2017. It's been at times a frustrating journey. He goes on to say 6 years since the SEC started meddling in the crypto market, picking winners and losers. 4 years since the SEC sued Ripple, and now finally we see light at the end of the tunnel. As these external, frankly unnatural and manipulative market factors fade, the tides are shifting, headwinds are turning to tailwinds, and the opportunity for those of us who believe in the future for XRP is enormous. So shout out to Brad Garlinghouse for that tweet, and certainly I think we're all hoping XRP holders, that is that we're finally going to see some change. And it's certainly starting to feel that way. And then finally, from Jeremy Hogan, he kind of reiterates what Fred Rispoli said earlier about the case. He says, so what happens to the Ripple versus SEC and Coinbase, etc. cases next year? Well, I wasn't sure about the nuts bolts of it all, so I listened to a great space by @JohnReedStark today. And the most likely scenario is Gensler steps down before January 20th. The new head or interim head sends out marching orders that all non-fraud crypto cases need to be disposed of. The litigation team looks at each case and recommends to either settle or dismiss each and brings their recommendations to the commissioners, who will then vote yay or nay. There will now be 3 rep appointed, so it will likely be yes. The Ripple case or any case with a ruling, it will be settled for the judgment, $125 million. It would be awkward to settle for less than that was already awarded by a court. The Coinbase and other cases in litigation will be simply dismissed. This will take some time, not January, but perhaps before summer. That's my call, and I'm sticking to it. So that's Jeremy Hogan's prediction there, and I like it. Let's move this thing forward. It's about time to do so. Let crypto do what it's meant to do. Get some regulations in place, and let these tokens breathe. So that's it for today. Do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button. Follow me on X @OrlandoMott, and I will see you on the flip side.